Emilia Lily Carr spent over 6 years on Florida's death row, her life hanging in the balance. But to understand how she ended up there, we must rewind to the turbulent world that shaped her. A story of family secrets, betrayal, and a path that led to a horrific crime. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more gripping crime stories. Leave a comment below. Where are you watching from? What's running through your mind as this case unfolds? Your thoughts matter. Emilia Lily Carr, born Emilia Ura on August 4, 1984, entered the world in Ocala, Florida. A place known for its horse farms and quiet rural life, she was the second of 3 sisters, raised by her mother, Maria Zayas, a former migrant worker who moved frequently, chasing stability. Emilia's father, whose identity remains less documented, cast a dark shadow over her childhood. Court records and family testimony later revealed a troubling home life marked by alleged abuse. At age 15, Emilia told school officials her father had mistreated her, a claim that hinted at deep family dysfunction. But she quickly retracted it, leaving questions unanswered. Why did she back away? Was it fear, loyalty, or something else? The family's troubles didn't end there. In 2004, when Emilia was 19, her father was convicted of a chilling crime, soliciting the murder of Emilia, her mother, and one of her sisters. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison, a bombshell that exposed the chaos in Emilia's world. Growing up in this environment, where betrayal and violence lurked, left scars that shaped her view of relationships and trust. Despite the turmoil, Emilia showed promise. A psychologist later assessed her IQ at 125, well above average, suggesting a sharp mind capable of great things. She earned A's and B's in school, joined the Army ROTC program, and dreamed of a future in modeling or photography. She took a course at the Barbizon School of Modeling, and even started massage therapy school. But her ambitions faltered. At 14, she gave birth to her first child, a staggering responsibility for a teenager. She dropped out of high school, though she later earned her GED. The weight of motherhood, combined with an unstable home, pulled her away from her dreams. Early signs of trouble emerged in Emilia's relationships. By her early 20s, she had been married twice. One marriage ended in a restraining order against her ex-husband for domestic violence. She was also entangled in a lesser crime, receiving 2 years of probation for helping an ex-husband steal exotic birds. A strange, almost reckless act that hinted at her willingness to skirt the law. These choices painted a picture of a young woman searching for stability, but finding chaos instead. Emilia's life was a mix of potential and pain. Her intelligence and aspirations clashed with a fractured family and poor decision. Each step, from her father's betrayal to her early motherhood, seemed to push her closer to a breaking point. What would it take for her to cross the line from troubled to dangerous? Hit that subscribe button so we know you're following. Emilia Carr's path to a deadly crime was intertwined with Joshua Damian Fulgham, a man whose volatile charm and tangled romantic life pulled her into a web of jealousy and betrayal. Their relationship was a roller coaster, marked by passion, deceit, and a shared act that would seal their fates. But how did they meet, and what drove them to such a dark place together? Emilia and Joshua likely met in 2008 in Citra, a small, sleepy town in Marion County, Florida, a place where social circles were tight and everyone seemed to know each other. Specific details about their first encounter are scarce, but their connection was intense from the start. Emilia, then 24, was a single mother of 3, navigating a life scarred by family trauma and failed marriages. Joshua, 27, was a charismatic but troubled figure, already tied to 26-year-old Heather Strong, his on-again, off-again partner since she was 15. Their shared acquaintances in Citra likely brought them together. Emilia even babysat Heather's 2 children, fathered by Joshua, a detail that suggests a complex overlap in their lives. The seeds of the crime were sown in the tumultuous relationships between Emilia, Joshua, and Heather. Heather Strong, born March 23, 1982 in Starkville, Mississippi, had been with Joshua since she was 15. A relationship marked by constant fights, breakups, and reconciliations. They had 2 children together, and in 2003 moved to Marion County, Florida, hoping for a fresh start. But their pattern of chaos continued. By June 2008, Heather, tired of the turmoil, separated from Joshua and moved in with a new boyfriend, Benjamin McCollum. For a brief moment she found happiness. Joshua, furious, began harassing them. He even threatened them with a gun, showing his possessive streak. Meanwhile, Emilia Carr entered Joshua's life around this time, likely through mutual connections in Sitra. Their relationship quickly intensified. By November 2008, Joshua proposed to Emilia. She was thrilled at the prospect of a future together. But in a shocking twist, Joshua abruptly married Heather on December 26, 2008. Just 1 month later, Emilia, pregnant with his child, was left heartbroken and betrayed. Her mother, Maria Zayas, later said, "She just couldn't believe it. She was hurt." Was this betrayal the spark that lit the fuse? The marriage didn't last. 6 days later, on January 1, 2009, Joshua was arrested for threatening Heather with a shotgun during an argument. While in jail, Emilia visited him frequently, rekindling their bond. Heather, meanwhile, refused to drop the charges, prompting a furious Emilia to confront her. In a disturbing incident, Emilia allegedly pulled Heather's hair, held a knife to her neck, and demanded she withdraw the complaint. A mutual friend, James Acombe, intervened, and soon after, Heather began dating him. They moved in together by late January. Joshua was released from jail on February 6, 2009. The charges were dropped, likely due to Emilia's intimidation. By early February, tensions were at a boiling point. Heather was planning to leave Florida with her children, a move Joshua fiercely opposed, as it threatened his access to his kids. Emilia, now 7 months pregnant with Joshua's child, was consumed by jealousy, not just over Joshua's lingering ties to Heather, but also over Heather's role as the mother of his children. A friend later testified that Emilia had offered $500 to have Heather killed, saying she'd do it herself, but couldn't move the body due to her pregnancy. Was this a fleeting outburst, or a sign of something darker brewing? On February 15, 2009, the fatal plan came together. Joshua, obsessed with securing custody of his children, asked his mother to help draft a custody agreement for Heather to sign. That same day, Heather left her job at the Iron Skillet restaurant at a petrol gas station in Reddick, Florida. She told co-workers she needed to address an issue with her children. It was the last time she was seen alive. What had Joshua said to lure her to her doom? The crime unfolded in a storage trailer behind the home of Emilia's mother, Maria Zayas, in Boardman, Florida, a rural area near McIntosh. The trailer was old and dilapidated. It sat on an overgrown property, a secluded spot, perfect for hiding a heinous act. On February 15, 2009, Joshua lured Heather to the trailer under the pretense of discussing their children's custody. Emilia, driven by loyalty to Joshua and her own resentment, was waiting. As Heather entered the trailer, she sensed danger and tried to leave. Joshua wrestled her back inside, overpowering her. Emilia joined in. Together, they forced Heather into a computer chair. Emilia bound Heather's hands and feet with duct tape, securing her to the chair. The pair then coerced Heather into signing a custody agreement, giving Joshua full control of their children. What happened next was chillingly deliberate. Emilia attempted to break Heather's neck. When that failed, she placed a black plastic garbage bag over Heather's head. Joshua held Heather down, pressed his hand over her mouth and nose, suffocated her as she struggled. Heather died of asphyxiation. After the murder, Joshua and Emilia buried Heather's body in a shallow grave near the trailer. They reportedly stuffed her into a suitcase to conceal her. The grave was hidden among debris, a grim attempt to erase their crime. Heather's belongings were removed from her apartment, and Joshua left a voicemail for her boyfriend, falsely claiming Heather had reconciled with him. For over a month, her disappearance went unexplained, leaving her family in anguish. The murder of Heather Strong sent ripples of grief through her family and community. Her mother, Carolyn Spence, traveled from Mississippi to attend Emilia's trial, later saying, "I'm relieved," when the guilty verdict came. But no verdict could erase the pain of losing her daughter. Larry Spence, Heather's stepfather, who had known her since childhood, called the crime's brutality justice served. Yet the loss of Heather, a young mother who fought for her children, left a void. Her 2 children, now without their mother, were caught in the fallout of a custody battle that turned deadly. Emilia's own children, including the newborn she delivered in custody, were placed in foster care, their futures uncertain. How could love and loyalty twist into something so monstrous? The answer lies in the choices made in that trailer, choices that ended one life and forever altered many others. The investigation into Heather Strong's murder began when her cousin reported her missing on February 24, 2009, 9 days after she vanished from Citra, Florida. Her disappearance raised alarms, and the Marion County Sheriff's Office quickly zeroed in on her estranged husband, Joshua Fulgham, and his girlfriend, Emilia Lily Carr. Their tangled relationships with Heather pointed to a motive rooted in jealousy and custody disputes. How would the police unravel the truth behind her fate? The breakthrough came on March 18, 2009. Joshua, under pressure during an interrogation, implicated Emilia and led police to a shallow grave near a storage trailer on property owned by Emilia's mother, Maria Zayas, in Boardman, near McIntosh, Florida. The next day, March 19, authorities executed a search warrant. They found Heather's body partially stuffed in a suitcase and wrapped in a blanket, buried under a pile of debris. The medical examiner confirmed Heather died of asphyxiation. Duct tape was found on her jeans, and a bruise on her forehead showed blunt force trauma, though not fatal. This grim discovery turned a missing person case into a homicide investigation. Forensic evidence was critical in linking Emilia Carr to the crime. Investigators recovered several pieces of duct tape from the storage trailer, some with stains that tested positive for blood. An FDLE crime lab analyst confirmed that a presumptive blood stain on one piece of tape matched Heather's DNA. A second piece included Heather in its DNA profile. Hairs found on the duct tape and a computer chair in the trailer also matched Heather's DNA. Placing her at the crime scene, a broken window in the trailer corroborated accounts of a struggle, and Emilia accurately described Heather's clothing: jeans, a gray t-shirt and socks with no shoes. She also gave details of the burial, including the blanket, something only someone present could have known. Detectives even found shoes Emilia claimed Heather wore that night, further tying her to the scene. Witness testimony strengthened the case. James Acom, who lived with Heather at the time of her murder, testified that in January 2009, Emilia had pulled a knife on Heather, forcing her to drop a complaint against Joshua. Acom and another friend, Jason Lotshaw, said Emilia offered them $500 to help kill Heather, revealing her intent weeks before the murder. Christy Stover, another friend, testified that Emilia frequently called her while Joshua was in jail, expressing her love for him and her desire to eliminate Heather. She even said she'd kill her herself, but needed help moving the body due to her pregnancy. The most damning evidence came from a recorded conversation with Joshua's sister, who was working with police. On March 24, 2009, Emilia admitted her role in the murder, unaware she was being recorded. Emilia Carr initially denied any involvement in Heather Strong's murder. She claimed she hadn't seen Heather since January 2009, but as police pressed her, her story shifted dramatically. She first said Joshua told her about killing Heather, then claimed she found Heather's body in the trailer the day after Joshua killed her. Later she offered a hypothetical account of witnessing Joshua commit the murder. Finally, in her recorded conversation with Joshua's sister, she admitted to helping Joshua carry out the plan, though she later claimed this confession was coerced, hoping it would reunite her with her children. How could she explain away the forensic evidence and her own word? The prosecution dismantled Emilia's alibis with forensic findings and witness testimonies. Her detailed knowledge of the crime scene down to Heather's clothing and the blanket contradicted her claim of non-involvement. The DNA evidence on the duct tape and hairs, combined with the broken trailer window, confirmed Heather's struggle and Emilia's presence. Witnesses like Acom, Lotshaw, and Stover exposed her premeditation. They recounted her offers to pay for Heather's murder and her obsessive hatred. The recorded confession to Joshua's sister was undeniable, catching Emilia describing the crime in detail. Emilia's trial began on November 29, 2010, in Marion County, Florida. Prosecutors, led by Rock Hooker, painted a picture of a jealous, calculating woman driven by her love for Joshua and hatred for Heather. They detailed how Emilia and Joshua lured Heather to the trailer, taped her to a chair, and suffocated her with a plastic bag. The prosecution highlighted the aggravating factors. The murder was committed during a kidnapping, it was heinous and cruel, and it was premeditated. Emilia's defense, led by Candace Hawthorne, argued she was a victim of a troubled childhood. They cited alleged abuse by her father and grandfather, and suggested Joshua was the dominant force in the crime. A psychologist testified that Emilia showed signs of post-traumatic stress, but no cognitive disorders. Her family pleaded for leniency, describing her as a caring mother of 4, but the prosecution countered, Her intelligence and manipulative nature made her fully responsible. On December 7, 2010, after just 2.5 hours of deliberation, the jury found Emilia guilty of first-degree murder and kidnapping. During the penalty phase, the defense's mitigation, her abusive childhood and lack of prior violent crimes, was overshadowed by the crime's brutality. On December 10, the jury voted 7-5 to recommend the death penalty. On February 22, 2011, Judge Willard Pope sentenced Emilia to death by lethal injection. Citing the crime's heinous nature and premeditation, she became the first woman in Marion County sentenced to death since Eileen Wuornos in 1992. Her life sentence for kidnapping was to run consecutively. Emilia's mother, Maria Zayas, called it a mother's worst nightmare. Would her sentence hold, or was there another twist to come? Emilia Lily Carr's life behind bars at Lowell Correctional Institution in Ocala, Florida, was a stark contrast to the chaotic world that led her to commit the heinous murder of Heather Strong in February 2009. As one of only 5 women on Florida's death row at the time, Emilia faced the grim reality of her sentence, while navigating the isolating and oppressive environment of prison life. Her behavior, daily routines, and attempts to fight her fate revealed a woman grappling with the weight of her actions. But did she truly feel remorse, or was it all a performance to escape the needle? From February 23, 2011, when Emilia was sentenced to death, until May 19, 2017, when her sentence was commuted, she spent over 6 years on death row at Lowell Correctional Institution's Annex, a facility known for housing Florida's female death row inmates. Life on death row was highly restrictive. Emilia was confined to a small cell for up to 23 hours a day, with limited access to the outside world. Her days were monotonous, spent reading books, writing letters, or engaging in limited recreational activities, like watching TV or listening to the radio, as permitted for death row inmates. In a 2015 ABC News interview for Diane Sawyer's A Nation of Women Behind Bars, Emilia, then 30, appeared alongside fellow death row inmate Tiffany Cole. The two walked the halls of Lowell, smiling like friends. A striking contrast to their grim circumstances. Emilia called it Life Row, saying, "We're not dying, we're living," suggesting a refusal to let the death penalty define her existence. But was this optimism genuine, or a coping mechanism for the looming threat of execution? Emilia's behavior in prison was complex. She was described as cooperative with guards, adhering to the strict rules of death row, which included regular cell checks and limited personal belongings. However, reports of her interactions with others hinted at a manipulative streak. In the ABC interview, she maintained her innocence, claiming she wasn't present when Heather was killed, and questioning the lack of fingerprints or DNA tying her directly to the act. "Duct tape is some sticky stuff, yet there's no fingerprints, no hair," she argued, suggesting the evidence against her was weak. This narrative clashed with her earlier recorded confession, raising questions about her sincerity. Did she truly believe she was innocent, or was she crafting a story for sympathy? There's no definitive record of Emilia finding religion in prison, unlike some inmates who turn to faith for redemption. However, her comments in the ABC interview suggested a focus on personal growth. She spoke of wanting to avoid accepting her death sentence, saying, "You can't have that mentality, because that means you've already died." This mindset hinted at a determination to fight for her life, but whether it stemmed from spiritual awakening or self-preservation remains unclear. Emilia aggressively pursued appeals from the moment her death sentence was handed down. Her defense, led by attorney Candace Hawthorne, argued that the 7-5 jury vote for the death penalty was too narrow. They also claimed that trial judge Willard Pope made errors, including dismissing her concerns about inadequate legal preparation. She further alleged ineffective assistance of counsel and questioned the proportionality of her sentence compared to Joshua Fulgham's life sentence. In 2015, the Florida Supreme Court upheld her conviction and death sentence, noting the overwhelming evidence of her guilt. They emphasized the crime's heinous nature, committed during a kidnapping, premeditated, and especially cruel. But Emilia didn't give up. She restarted the appeal process, focusing on her lawyer's performance and the non-unanimous jury vote, setting the stage for a dramatic shift in her fate. Emilia's death sentence, was overturned due to a landmark change in Florida's capital punishment laws. In January 2016, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Hurst v. Florida that Florida's death penalty scheme was unconstitutional because it allowed judges to impose death sentences based on non-unanimous jury recommendations. The Florida Supreme Court followed in October 2016, mandating unanimous jury votes for death penalties. Emilia's 7-5 jury recommendation from December 2010 no longer met this standard, rendering her sentence invalid. Rather than pursue a new penalty phase trial, which would have required a unanimous jury to recommend death, the state of Florida declined to retry the case. On May 19, 2017, 5th Judicial Circuit Court Judge Willard Pope resentenced Emilia, then 32, to life in prison without parole. This aligned her sentence with Joshua Fulgham's. The decision spared her from execution, but ensured she would never leave Lowell Correctional Institution. The resentencing marked a quiet end to her 6-year fight against the death penalty, leaving her to face a lifetime behind bars for her role in Heather Strong's murder. Emilia Carr's journey from death row to a life sentence reflects the complexities of justice, where legal technicalities can alter fates. Her behavior in prison, cooperative yet defiant in claiming innocence, leaves a lingering question about her true remorse. Heather Strong's family found some closure, but the loss of a mother, daughter, and friend remains a wound that never fully heals. Was justice served by sparing Emilia's life, or does her crime demand a harsher price? What do you think this case reveals about love, betrayal, and the pursuit of justice? Drop your comments below.